Alright. We've actually got a lot of packaging to go through. So, good news for that person that requests big updates. You know, I tend not to respond to it because the big updates are really determined by what happens to be coming out. I've just got so much stuff that I don't know. I guess it's mostly things. Interesting. That's different than usual. Because that right. That's interesting. I'm just trying to be careful about this. And yeah, there's another one of these. So I can put this one aside. Make sure there's nothing else in that box. And then we get the next box. And yes, I did choose a special order to these because they get smaller as they go. Put these scissors away because okay, let's actually set this here because this next one is also big. Although I do believe I should Jesus. Then we have one final small package. Alright. But before we get to those, other non-anime stuff to show. So I got the, you know, Lechonk distribution. It's, you know, whatever. I don't think it comes with anything all that special, but you know, I got it. And you know, when I go to GameStop, I try to pick up games. So I picked up a Slime Rancher Plortable edition and Signalis, which I don't know what it is, but it looks kind of curious and interesting. These came with like Polaroid and let's see. So it's kind of nice. All right, we're putting those aside. How the fuck am I going to do this? Okay, I think what I have to do first is reduce some of the space by, I'm noticing some of these are sideways, so I'm going to rearrange them like so. Okay, let's set these aside and look at this first, because this is kind of weird, because it's a Gundam Reconguista 5. So let's, because right, like the other one, I think a lot of this stuff is giveaway stuff. Okay, there it is. So I should be able to mostly take this out. Well, this is the main thing. You can see a G and a 5. And it's really weird because I got volume 4 as an import last week. I'm debating whether or not to open that. I guess I kind of don't feel like it. Sorry. Then we got booklets, and these are the reasons that opening this up first will make the most sense. Because will be able to flip through them, but I'll be setting them aside. And while you would think I might remember what was in the last week's one, all I can say is there's something about this that feels very familiar, very similar. Pretty cool. I really like some of the ideas in there, even if I don't like look at them and think about them in a whole lot of detail. I don't know. It's sort of like, you know, appreciating flowers but not having the energy to make your own garden or something like that. You know what, that's being difficult. Let's not waste time on camera trying to put that together any more than I already have, and let's just dive in. Well, now I don't remember what was in, what the order these were all in. But, you know, we can at least admire the imported Reconguista in G Movie 5. It's a lot of Gundam. Well, mechas, more to be more precise. Beyond the Peril of Death. See Blu-ray. See Blu-ray. I'm not able to look a lot closer to see if one maybe says feature and the other says extras. But it yam what it yam. Alright, now let's do the shuffling to move that over there and look next at these top two items, which are Yashahime Season 2 Part 1 Blu-ray and DVD versions. DVD Yashahime. See region A there, I believe. I'm mostly just observing the fact that I can feel that this is... it feels inflated in the top for some reason. Like there was a bump in the top or something. Oh. And yeah, my head kind of hurts. I don't think I'm going to work on opening it. So we got Rumiko Takahashi stuff in general. Felt like I was having trouble separating. Showing you the different stuff. Yashahime. So I think before I put that away, I kind of want to peek at the DVD version, see what's in here. Fucking hell. I mishandled that like a champ. Looks like the same inserts, so... yeah, as you can see, the DVD version doesn't have quite as interesting discard. Which basically meant that if that was the only reason you were using to determine which one you would want, then Blu-ray would be superior. Still feels like it's bulging in the center. Interesting. Next up, we have Mieruk-chan. You know, it took me a while to remember the series because the name wasn't immediately ringing a bell, but I did start watching this on Crunchyroll. And, you know, I had things about it that were just sort of like, I'm not sure what to make of this series. I see regions A and B. I do believe that's an English dub. This is the complete series, so I guess this limited edition version isn't a limited edition box for both part 1 and part 2. Okay, different underneath the slipcover, always good. I'm just hearing that plastic moving around on the inside. There's one of the loose bits. Let's see if I can get this over here without dropping it and losing it. Good, good. Yep, and there's some more plastic here. Come on, I can feel that I didn't grab it all. And I can hear that I didn't grab it all either. There, up there. Alright. I'm actually not sure where all of that plastic came from. That's a bit of a mystery. Yeah, that feels like it's going in. Nope. None of it's going in chloride. Okay, there we go. Hold on, this one in like this. Because I remember. Oh, a little bit of manga at the end there. And then we got I am being so athletic today. Be wowed by my skills. Okay. Let's take a look. First we've got stickers. These are actually some pretty nice stickers. I can also feel the separation between the stickers and the sticker sheet. Feels like they're very separable. And they're pretty clear too, so these are actually some surprisingly high quality stickers, I'd say. Maybe the, yeah, postcards. Probably have a lot of the scary imagery from it, which could be cool. It would be different. It's too bad I don't have the energy to want to try. Ooh. It's actually kind of cool. Okay, and I don't remember which side might be more relevant. Oh yes, I forgot. I usually like to put these back in there, but I can feel it's not fitting. I'm not going to try to force it in. Next up we have Mononoke, the complete TV series on Blu-ray, which I think I had on DVD before. And I didn't quite enjoy it as much as I enjoyed the Goblin Cat. But, you know, one of the problems with watching the Goblin Cat, enjoying it, and watching it over and over and over again is you kind of want the Goblin Cat. And the rest of this, it wasn't bad. It just didn't grab me as much. Looks like there's an English dub. It looks like a region A. Sorry, I was just thinking that I really do want to show the Goblin Cat to certain people. It's interesting. Part of me almost wonders if it feels a little too busy, but whatever. Deemo. Memorial keys. Okay, so that's playing piano, maybe? See region A and a DVD there. So I'm guessing this is a movie. Okay. Who released this? Whoever that is, I'm not immediately recognizing it. Oh. Ow. Don't worry, that only fell on my fucking foot. Ow. And it only hit with a sharpened, so it was only a little bit excruciatingly painful. Let's see. Let's get these back up here. Oh. I guess that's just the kind of day I'm having, if I'm being... Definitely curiosity. So here's what I think I'm going to do. To prevent this pile from getting too big, I'm actually going to set this aside and start looking through the rest of this. We've got Arifureta. This should be season 2. Season 2. Which I thought was a decent season. Some of that stuff. Okay, yeah, it was a pretty decent ending. If I were to say there's any problem with it, part of the problem is that the way the first season is set up, it actually provides a lot of the hero's journey sort of stuff in it. Regions A and B. Should be an English dub. I've only watched it dubbed. It seems to me like it's probably perfectly fine subtitled, but it's good dubbed. Good characters. Actually, there's something about the image art that's different. I'm wondering if it's like more of the manga characters. I'm not sure. It feels like a bit more than just that. Yeah, this is Blu-ray DVD. Thought I heard some plastic sliding around. There probably was. I mean, where there's, yeah, there's some loose blue plastic there. Oh, there's some more. But before I go trying to chase that down, let's get this up here. Make sure I don't feel anything that would damage it if I tried to put it back down. I see you. Loose plastic. Interesting. Yeah, the character art feels different compared to the way that the characters look in the series. A little more refined or something like that. While still very clearly feeling like the same characters. Pretty cool. Oh, yeah, and then we got, this box contains... This one I don't have to worry about putting them back in because they're going to go off to the side. So is that everything else? Okay. So what do we have? We have some more cards, which would be great to look at, but... Oh, God. Kind of don't have the energy to try to do that tonight. And then, it looks like a sticker. Yeah, I can feel the separation. So there's probably some more stickers in there. At least one more in that yellow sheet. Okay. Next up, Lupin the Third. Swallowtail tattoo. On Blu-ray. What's he gonna steal when somebody steals Lupin himself? It is but a tagline. No, I was about to say scratch, I suppose. see, this looks like it's Japanese with English subtitles only. Region A. Same underneath the slipcover. Yeah, we can't reverse the cover because it's all based on the main image, but this one is designed to be a full artwork. And I guess technically you could take this out and put this on the wall and still have the slipcover for your cover for the anime, couldn't you? Maybe that's what they intended to do with them all along. Did I ever comment on anything like that? There we go. Next up we have Treasure Island on Blu-ray. Self-separated plastic, just need to get a hold of it. Different underneath. I'd say it's nice, although the imagery is a little simple, but maybe not in a bad way. Mostly just in a I don't know, it's the main artwork for the show kind of way. Not sure why my back hurts so much. I've just been recording this video. Last but not least, Attack on Titan Final Season Part 2. Which for a while there I was thinking, oh, this is more Attack on Titan, except I watched this on Crunchyroll with my friend, so it's been slow coming out. The contents of this were pretty great, especially since I was a little bit worried about whether or not it was living up to other stuff, but then it's like, no, it's good. Good storytelling. Regions A and B with the English dub. Face the true enemy. Blah, blah, blah. The main important thing is we get to look at the discs. Specials on the inside. Okay, I kept feeling like that wanted to something. Looked like some simple stuff in that booklet, and then that. Cool. And then we got this extra box which contains art cards and three enamel pins. 3 enamel pins. And I don't have to worry about putting these back in. Oh, I see. Because, you know, again, it's not part of the box. Some of the same imagery we were seeing in there. And here's our 3 pins. Interesting. Alright. Let's get this stack back together. Turn this on this side. Here's this week's Anime DVD collection update. Okay, let's see. It's a list. I mean, it's not a big list. I don't know. It'll be a lot to think about. Okay, let's begin with. So I have been checking on Netflix, and good news, they finally have the rest of Uncle from Another World on there. If I were to take a guess, maybe part of the reason it was delayed is they were working on dubbing it. Because I know when I first watched it on there, the first 7 episodes, they were subtitled only. Or at least I thought they were subtitled only. That was okay. But when I started episode 8, it started out English dubbed immediately, and I switched it to Japanese with English subtitles. And that kind of suggests to me that, you know, they were maybe working on dubbing it. So we had episodes 8 through 13. All 13 episodes are now on there, I believe. And it was pretty entertaining. I mean, obviously, you know, I binged watched episodes 8 through 13. That's 6 episodes, I think. Yes. Okay, yeah. I was wondering why that math wasn't working in my head, and the answer is the head. So, the problem was up here. Okay, so, I did watch all 6 episodes, and they were very entertaining. If you kind of found Uncle from Another World entertaining, I'd say the stuff in there was good. I feel like there was some stuff in there that was also some touching moments that it didn't ruin too much. Like, maybe too much is saying a little too much as well in itself. But, you know, it's kind of like got this thing where it's like whenever it sets up things that are like, oh, that could be touching, and it intentionally turns that trope on its head. You know, that's just one of the things that are funny about it. But it felt like it let a couple moments sink in, and it didn't completely flip them. It kind of twisted them in a little way, but in a way that's just like, I think you as the audience can just kind of appreciate what just happened. Would be nice if there was a second season, because I do think it gave implications that there would definitely be more entertaining things to see. I forget if it did anything else specifically at the very end, but I don't know. Fun series. I rewatched How Not to Summon a Demon Lord Season 1. Like, okay, so I also technically rewatched In Another World with my smartphone Season 1, but that one was filled with more jumping and rewatching chunks and jumping and stuff. But this was a full rewatch of How Not to Summon a Demon Lord, mostly because I couldn't remember it at all. And I do have Season 2 sitting there, although I might not watch what's on that Blu-ray, but I will probably try to compare what's on that Blu-ray to the Double Summon Edition, which I do believe is on Crunchyroll. And there are two reasons that I want to do. First of all, I thought I had remembered some of the gimmick of this show, but it turns out no, I was completely mixing it with a different show, which is why it was good to rewatch it. And second, I didn't remember anything about any of the characters or what had happened. There were a couple of things that are like, I guess I kind of vaguely feel like I know what happened here, but I really just didn't remember it at all enough to have even tried to watch Season 2. So I did that in preparation for potentially watching that in case this was a slow week. Which it was, you know, because there was a period of time there where no new episodes were coming out. But at the same time, we'll have to see if I have the energy to even watch Season 2, which I probably will because I put the effort in, which I say, but I haven't put more effort into Log Horizon, which I'm not necessarily done yet, so don't know. And what did I think rewatching it? Mostly, I guess it's okay. I think the biggest problem was I was remembering one where somebody got isekai'd into a world as their Demon Lord character, but they were actually weakened and had their Demon Lord powers, and they were playing it off. And I thought that was this show, but now I know, oh yes, this was that other one. This one, our character is legitimately strong. He's OP. In fact, I think a lot more of the emphasis on this show could be argued to be towards the oh my god, a girl with boobies is interacting with me, and he's kind of socially awkward about it, and he handles that by trying to pretend Demon Lord, even though he can't handle certain moments. You would think people would catch on, because, like, the way he reacts to certain things, even when he eventually speaks in Demon Lord mode, would give you the impression of one of those characters who, like, is putting on a front, to a degree. And I don't mean that in the bad way that I think that could be interpreted, but very specifically, you know, it's pretty clear that, you know, well, literally speaking, that's his way of handling his social awkwardness. For good or worse. For better or worse. And, you know, the show seems to look up excuses to do stuff. Like, I kind of felt like I wasn't quite sure what it was doing with the characters, because it's like, I guess there's some stuff here that's sort of relevant to driving the plot, but at the same time, it almost just feels like it boils down to an excuse for naughty bits, I guess. Now, it doesn't feel as, I guess, over-eager to get into that. It just, like, happens a lot. Overall, I'd say it balanced out okay. It was a fun rewatch, I suppose. I'm definitely curious about the second season and wanting to see what it's going to do. Because I think maybe some of the characterizations that they introduced at the very end of the first season, they didn't really have time to play with them because they were doing two important things. And I kind of want to see where it goes from there, I guess. Interested. So, you know, yeah, I rewatched that. Let's see, then going through the list of stuff as they aired per day. Campfire Cooking in Another World with My Absurd Skills, episode 12, which I do believe is the ending of this season. And, yeah. Nice ending, I suppose. I'm trying to remember what specifically happened in it, but I think there's an element of it that just sort of feels like you know, they knew this was going to be the end of the season of the core or whatever, and it's a bit of a, I think it was a bit of a wrap-up. I'm not sure if certain things happened in this episode or the previous one. I just remember where it ended, and whether or not I remember whenever next episode comes out, who knows. I mean, if a next episode comes out tomorrow, then you lucky me. But I'm pretty sure it's probably done for the time being. So, yeah, I'm not going to get my sweet fix. I'll have to make do with that somehow. Let's see, The Fruit of Evolution, Season 2, Episode 12. I guess it was okay. It's hard. I suppose one of the big problems with this sort of ending to this season, I don't think it's the end to everything, but yeah, the end to this season, I'd say if there's any issue, it's that, are the characters introduced? Do they really all feel like they are kind of pushing this idea? Does it really feel like it's doing anything that unique? Does the story even feel like it ties into this? Hard to say. So some interesting stuff happens. It's not like horrible, I would say. But weak in a way that I think if you've watched Fruit of Evolution, you kind of understand. Oh yeah, it kind of has... its storytelling leaves something to be desired. But it's an okay ending to the second season, I suppose. I think last week I was speculating if the reincarnation of the strongest exorcist in another world, episode 12, was the last episode of the season, and I'm pretty sure episode 13 is, because I forgot that 12 ended with a notable cliffhanger, and 13 kind of resolves a whole lot of it, with some interesting discussion from characters that are the kind of thing that make me want to go to this side and say, no, wait just a fucking minute, what you just said doesn't actually make sense because ... But you can't actually have these conversations with these characters. And I guess the conversations that did happen was pretty okay. But, you know, kind of an interesting conclusion. If I'd be curious where it as a series would want to go after this moment. Especially some of the stuff they've revealed at the end of this season. But, you know, stuff. Let me see. I watched the first episode of My Love Story with Yamada-kun at level 999. I was about to go one more 9 than needed. And it was okay. I don't think I'm going to continue watching it. I mean, I've kind of complained a little bit that I just don't feel in a real relationship mood. So this Super Shoujo show is tickling things that are like, okay, well, this could be interesting to watch from a shoujo perspective, but I don't know that I feel the desire. I wanted to give it a shot because I was kind of curious. The basic premise being that the titular character Yamada-kun is, you know, just a super spectacular gamer, and our main character is a girl who, her boyfriend got her into an MMORPG, but then dumped her for another girl on there. And she wasn't sure if she was what she was gonna do after that point. She was kind of moving forward with momentum, and through funny shoujo circumstances, she's starting a relationship with Yamada-kun. So, yeah, I guess what I'm mostly thinking is, I know that kind of her pushiness, desperation is a little cringe, but maybe not bad. It really depends. It's definitely a very shoujo sort of thing where it's just like, I don't know. I guess she's just acting very girl, at least very shoujo anime or shoujo manga girl, and that's why I think it's probably fine for people who are really into that. It just didn't quite pull me in a direction other than that where I'm like, yeah. I don't know. Next up, The Dangers in My Heart, Episode 1. Mostly, I watched that one because I was kind of curious what the fundamental premise was and what it was planning to do with it. And because it kind of mentions our main character kind of as dangerous, dark thoughts, something like that. But I guess watching this show, while it isn't beware my mystical eye levels of Chunibyo or anything like that, it's hard to say that it doesn't feel a little Chunibyo. mixed with a little lightheartedness, I suppose. So overall, I guess, it didn't jump out in its special way to me. If you were looking for a shoujo show, you definitely, Yamada-kun feels more along those lines. But I'm not sure that everybody would definitely prefer that over The Dangers of In My Heart. It just was. Yeah. Next up, The Aristocrats' Otherworldly Adventures, Serving Gods Who Go Too Far. Episode 1. A nice first episode. If you heard that hesitation in my voice, it's because I'm not sure how to describe it, because it's not like a spectacular first episode, but it's not bad. It's an episode that needs some follow-up for us to kind of get a good feel for it. Some elements of the way it's set up kind of remind me of By the Grace of the Gods, but if you weren't a big fan of that, the good news is this anime feels like it's got something more akin to conflict in it. One of my friends on Discord was saying that it reminded them of Strongest Assassin Reincarnated, and I don't remember how I felt at various points in that one to say for certain, but our main character is definitely an overpowered kid for all intents and purposes. Possibly born into the right place in order for his interestingness to manifest, but we're not quite sure how all that's going to go. And the Grace of the Gods thing was mostly just our main character being resurrected and some of the whimsy of the gods once he discovers, I guess, the details of his reincarnation. But yeah, I guess the real problem with this first episode is it's set that stuff up, but we're not quite sure what kind of show it's going to be going forward. It's our main character is still kind of growing up, and it hasn't given enough hints in the first episode to have that feel. I'm not sure if Jobless Reincarnation kind of had that feel, because this is one of those problems where you introduce a main character who's deliberately younger than how they're going to be in the rest of the show. Evanston Shadow could kind of sort of be like that. No, I guess because our main character's motivations are their own and are pretty clearly established in the very first episode. So maybe Eminence and Shadow isn't quite as comparable, but I don't know. This is definitely a show where I'm going to give it more episodes, for sure. But it could very easily get very and whether or not it stays on my radar depends on what other shows show up that fill my energy. I also watched My Clueless First Friend, episode 1. Of the stuff that's dipping my toe outside of the very obvious, oh Jesus, Giga's watching a lot of isekais, I would say I enjoyed this one more than The Dangers in My Heart and My Love Story with Yamada-kun. I wouldn't say it's necessarily inherently better than those other two, but I would say it worked a little bit better for me just because there was something about it that was like, okay, this one isn't about relationship. And for me, the hardest part about watching it is seeing the character who's going through a very tough childhood, and there's that part of you as an adult that always wants to reach out and coddle that child, and that's not always the best thing to do. And it's interesting because this show kind of shows you not necessarily what you should be doing instead, but rather, a good turnaround to that. And part of the reason I say that you need to be kind of careful with kids like that is because at some degree childhood should be a simulation / growing experience for kids in order for them to become adults on their own. And we have to make sure they're not dependent on, like, say, their parents becoming a permanent fixture of their life, because spoiler alert, most parents don't live longer than their kids, at least in this day and age. Which basically means that if you have a kid that only depends on their parents for certain crutches in life, then it becomes a real problem when those parents are gone and there's nobody else to fill that void. And we're really communal animals, and we should be living in communities, and in theory, humans as communities should be kind of figure out how to exist in these communities. And it's kind of a catch-22 because not our poor main character, maybe kind of our poor main character. I was just trying to think which character is actually the main character. The titular character is actually the boy that makes friends with the girl, but the title is told from the perspective of the girl, so that would kind of suggest that she's the main character. But I don't know if the contents of the anime support that enough. I get a feeling she sort of is, but I don't know. It's a lot of things to discuss and think about, and some deep stuff. It's like, why are you thinking that deeply? And the answer is probably I was just too exhausted on a Sunday evening, and what else was I doing? You know what? I think the other thing I was doing is something else I'll talk about just after this one. But, you know, overall, pretty wholesome first episode. I'm not sure if I'm going to watch the second episode. A lot of that's probably going to come down to what I feel like I have the energy to watch. Mostly because I kind of don't know where this series would keep going that would particularly interest me from a continuing watching perspective. But there's the possibility that it could just be a wholesome thing to watch once every week. We'll just have to see. So the thing I was talking about, part of the reason I think it was slowed down was there was a part of me, I mentioned this last week, I wanted to watch that Konosuba movie. And there's a part of me that's kind of iffy back and forth on how much of a high priority that is, because there's more Konosuba coming out this season, but I've only ever watched Konosuba dubbed, and I think you can get pretty attached to the voice actors of whichever version you watch. So that kind of suggests to me that I'm going to only want to watch Konosuba the next season dubbed, which means I'm not going to watch the episodes as they come out. I'll have to figure that out. I'll have to at least watch them and see if the dub is going to be incoming. But it didn't stop the fact that it's like, you know what, Konosuba as a show is really funny, and I didn't watch that movie, but I did rewatch a lot of scenes from both seasons 1 and 2. It's just a fucking genius comedy of an anime. Complete fucking genius. And then I ended up not watching watching the movie. In theory, that's kind of still high on my radar, but I need to find where everything lands in terms of all the anime that's coming out over this week. Okay, and now from that aside, we get right back to, I think I mentioned this, I rewatched really fast. You know, usually I don't talk about when I jump back into anime and rewatch scenes here and there. So I've usually watched more anime than I ever talk about here, but I'm usually not watching stuff from an experience. I'm usually going back to, oh, wasn't it really fucking awesome when that scene happened? So, In Another World with my smartphone, Season 1 was somewhere in between, where I was going through just to kind of watch things in the order, to have an idea in my head where it had built up and what had been revealed and what was maybe going to happen, so that I could go into Season 2 kind of in a fresher state. Especially since it's been so many years since Season 1 happened. Like, I don't even... People still were releasing all anime on DVD and Blu-ray back then. You know, it's just like, Jesus Christ, how long ago was that? I don't know. If somebody told me 5 or 6 years, that feels kind of long, but maybe that wouldn't be that impossible. Sorry, there's a little piece of chair sticking out there that kind of had me curious. So it's kind of interesting rewatching it, especially, you know, by the grace of the gods, not completely falling off of the radar yet, you know, because it just finished within this... Hold on, not within this past week. A little over a week ago, Season 2 finally finished, right? And people who might not like that anime, I can completely understand, because one of the problems with that show is there isn't really as much conflict as it looks like there should be, and also our main characters just kind of too much the focus of attention. And I guess the show also relies a little too heavily on the whimsy. So from a storytelling perspective, there's not much to watch with that. So in another world with my smartphone, kind of I was thinking about that. It's not as bad in those regards as By the Grace of the Gods. I would say the main issue with it is still a little main character centric. It does tend to be a little soft on its conflicts and resolutions, but the conflicts are a little more conflicty. There's just certain things where it's like, oh yeah, well the king was poisoned and they're blaming this one person because the wine they brought must have been poisoned. Wait a second, everybody was served that wine. Why didn't everybody who drank it get poisoned? Like, it becomes really fucking obvious that, oh yeah, because the poison was in the king's cup. So it was somebody on the inside. It was an inside job. And I don't know. But you get outside of that. I think the real problem with the show is it introduces these classic characters who are kind of interesting what they can and could do, but then they don't do. Our main character just kind of OPs his way through stuff. Now, in that regard, Season 2 starts off better because it has them doing something. And, you know, if you just rewatch Season 1, you'd probably be thinking, whoa, holy shit, they finally took these characters off the bench and did stuff with them. Thank fucking God. It's not the best first episode, but I'd actually still call it a good first episode of this second season, especially since it has been so long since the previous season happened. Again, I don't remember the exact amount of time, but it gives you some action. It gives you some stuff where you're like, I don't remember that happening in the first season. That's because, oh, it just happened just prior to the events being shown in there. It's pretty new stuff. And our four main characters... Sorry, we have one main character. Our four love interests, which is weird to say considering this show is not going in a direction where it's like your stereotypical, oh, which one will he choose? No, this one's like, polygamy is a thing in this world. Okay, fine, whatever. But they did want us to get kind of a bearing on those characters' feelings for our main character. So this episode kind of served to do some of that, I guess. And I think it was okay. And for a while there I was thinking the only problem with it is while we do have stuff that was set up at the end of the last season, it's like, okay, well, what are we going to do in season 2 now that we know that stuff at the end of season 1? And it looked like season 1 or season 2 episode 1 wasn't going to do anything with that, but then it did. And I'd say, again, it's a pretty good first episode. It kind of has you thinking and going, yeah, okay, I'm interested to see more. If you were caught by the thin threads that smartphone has for you, then I think you probably found season 2, or you would find season 2 to be a good hook to get back into it, unless it's something you feel like you've grown out of. You know, we all change over time. I mean, I used to watch plenty of shoujos, and right now it's just like, you have to watch all those escapism animes. And one of the most important things about escapism is it can't just be, oh, these are characters in real life, and oh my god, why are they saying that? I could handle this conversation a lot better. So, blah, 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 blah. Is there anything else to mention? I was kind of hoping to wrap up Animal Crossing and finally put that on a pause. You know, I've been on and off. Sometimes I'd start a week and I'm like, holy shit, it's Wednesday and I forgot to fire up Animal Crossing. Oh, okay, well, I don't have anything scheduled this week, so I'll just clean everything up on Sunday and then go through the next week, because the next week I have somebody's birthday to give them a thing so that the islands are decorated. And so my plan was, Sunday I was going to super clean all the islands, which means there are certain islands I've let like certain flowers go out of hand, and I'm going to clean those up. And there have been certain islands where, stuff, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll do it. And then I kind of realized, oh, this might be an issue. It looks like cherry blossoms. Well, fuck it. Cherry blossoms will be fine. They're pretty. Saving your island and uploading it to the Dream, whatever. While cherry blossoms are there, kind of cool. Okay, maybe I'll do that. But then when Sunday rolled around, it's like, oh my god, it's that fucking bunny again. And there's eggs every... Oh my god, I can't upload this island. So I have to wait for the Easter event to finish. What do they call it? Bunny Day? Egg Day? I think they call it Bunny Day or something like that. Okay, fine. Well, how long does that mean? Well, this coming Sunday is going to be the actual Bunny Day, so I'm not going to be cleaning anything up. So maybe I'll wait a week after that. And maybe if we're close enough to the end of Cherry Blossoms, I'll have to think whether or not I save then or not. So, 2 more weeks of Animal Crossing, and then I probably pause it until I go over to my mom's place and I have to give her missing art. You know, my mom's not as good at hitting the island every single day. I can't blame her. It gets harder the older you get. I say that as somebody who's just watching a fucking shit ton of anime, still playing Dead by Daylight. I've actually been firing up Pokemon to kill some Chanseys mostly. And the Samurott thing... Did the Samurott thing happen? Yeah, I guess the Samurott thing happened. I got kind of lucky. Because I have 2 games, and I went with an anger point strategy. And for those of you who don't know, the anger point strategy is you have a Pokemon that is guaranteed a critical hit, and you attack the other Pokemon, and it has the ability Anger Point, which causes its attack stat to get maxed to +6 stages. It also has a choice band. You make sure it's weak to the Pokemon. You do some setup in order to multiply that damage, so then he attacks, bam, 1-hit KO. But I had trouble doing the setup. So at that point, it's just like, whatever. I'll just keep attacking until, you know, my Pokemon die enough at the raid resets. But then the shield broke. I'm like, that's unexpected. Wait, my Choice Band Pokemon is still... It just resurrected and the shield is already broken. I'm going to try the Anger Point thing. I did an attack cheer somewhere in there just for the shiggles. And so it's like, attack, hit, Samurott died. Surprising? Yeah. So, it was kind of a gimme for the first one, you know, given that strategy. It's not the most reliable strategy being done that way, but it is definitely the basis for a really good, reliable strategy. But I only needed to catch Samurott once. This game that's behind this laptop here, I never connected it to the internet, so it still has Chanseys, so I can hit up Chanseys to get experience and Terra Shards. Eventually I'll change my mind. And yeah, I was very careful to make sure I uploaded the Lechonk. There it is. I uploaded the Lechonk to my other game, and maybe I'll transfer it to this, my main game, but I'll figure that out later. Yeah, stuff. With my brother, I've played some Sons of the Forest. Horrible, horrible game to start, but once you hit your head against all this stuff and start understanding, oh, this is what it means to do this, oh, this is what it means to do this, it becomes okay. Now, I don't know if it doesn't feel like there's as much stuff to do per se, which I think is part of the idea, problem, whatever. It's early release, I think. I mean, there's maybe stuff to do, but at the same time, it's like, you know, me and my brother are just so low on energy. We're both close in age, and I think feeling similar exhaustion in life for different reasons. You know, I think I'm being dragged down by pre-diabetic sort of stuff that's just been in my life for the past 8 to 10 years, maybe? Don't know. And he just has to do a whole lot more to go day to day. It's like, you hear all this stuff, I'm doing a shit ton of goofing around. But, you know, he doesn't have as cushy a job. He has to plan things and actually has to jump around. And so that's why, you know, we might not actually play tomorrow, because we normally play on Tuesdays, whatever we play. And that would be completely understandable because, you know, like for him, he's actually trying a new job thing today. Like, it's something where if it falls through, he's got a lot of fallback options to fall back on. He's going to be okay. unless this job mentally traumatizes him. Because what can I say? My first job was teaching little kids to swim, and yeah. I hope some of those kids walked away from that feeling much more confident. Because I think one of the ideas is it's not a bad idea for kids to interact with people in the water who are just so comfortable in there that maybe they can feel it eventually too. You know, the kind of a role model idea. And you know, this was back when I was a swimmer, and so for me, I could just move around in the water just by, you know, switching my hands back and forth, because that was an exercise we did all the time, and I could just relax and just kind of float along. Think of it, I mean, I know with my weight now, it, in my mind, it kind of feels like a manatee, but you know, it probably was never actually that. I don't know, but at the same time, the only reason I don't look back on it is because while I did enjoy spending time in the water with a lot of those kids, the first one was just too many people. I definitely would have preferred if it was only a handful, which I think it was later. Not 7 kids, and it's just too much, so much so that I missed one almost drowning. Yeah, like I said, you know, not the funnest first job. But, you know, even if that's kind of fun, I'm not sure if I want to be paid to do that. Imposter syndrome can be such a hard thing, and I can't really tell you if I was good or not. Again, I have these hypotheses on why I was maybe not, but you know, at the end of the day, I walked home from every one of those lessons thinking, I'm just spending time in the water with the kids that these parents that are watching me could also be doing. Why are they not doing it? Do they feel like, oh, it's worthwhile to spend the money to do this? Some of them maybe. I don't know. That's some weird thoughts. I don't think I've ever talked about those on YouTube before. So hopefully that was something that was just like, oh, huh. That was kind of amusing to hear. Otherwise, if it was just boring, sorry about that. I rambled. I guess I'm exhausted. Exhausted looking around. Am I trying to think about anything I need to talk about? Nothing's coming to mind. So I should wrap this up. Y'all, if you were curious, I did complete the Rift in Dead by Daylight. But yeah, y'all, have a nice week.